morning, everybody. It is December 10th, 2021. That's a Friday. Today is a Friday. I'm here with Brad Cummings, and mysteriously, Flock Squawk Nation might be wondering where our other co-host is. Chad, he would not be joining us on our chat today because he is currently, I don't know if he's in the hospital or not, but his wife, Taylor, and him are expecting their first child, and it's coming down like really close to the wire. So yes, I just wanted to give a quick shout out. First off, shout out, baby. Welcome to the world. You're going to have a pretty amazing parents. Very amazing parents. Taylor and Chad are some of the best people that I've ever known in my life. And no one is more deserving of a child than Chad and Taylor. So shout out to the Cummings family. I'm here with, I guess it's safe to say, like the future most valuable uncle award winner, Brad Cummings. What's up, dude? How are you doing today?
We're chilling. Yeah. Shout out to Chad and Taylor. But yeah, he just texted me saying that they, she's been contracting for a while, not for all the business out there. Hopefully they will be having that baby here in a couple of days, or if not today. That'd be awesome. It's like definitely Chad's baby because he is or she is late, and he is late for literally everything. So there you go.
Yeah, and it's the newest nation, or the newest member of the Flock Squawk Nation. I'm so excited. It's great news. Let's jump into it, man, in honor of Chad and in honor of Taylor today. Week 13, Baltimore goes into Heinz Field. Comes down to really like a 2-point conversion play that is missed by Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens offense. The Steelers end up getting a win, 2019, over the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens dropped to 8-4, and now in the playoff hunt, they are the number 3 seed. So, I mean, Brad, like, what are your impressions of this game? It really comes down to the 2-point conversion, right? Out of all that, and I've been happy to see that the media coverage is really kind of hammering Lamar, because Lamar made a lot of mistakes. He's been making mistakes since they came off their bye week. What did you think of the game? Any general impressions? And maybe we can dive into some of those.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously sloppy play. It was a close game, as most of our divisional games are, besides obviously that Bengals game where we just got our butts handed to us. But it's going to be a tough fought game with the Steelers, and as you said, it came down to a 2-point conversion at the end of the game, whether we win it or lose it, and then we ended up losing it. I was really hoping that Lamar comes off of a terrible game and does a lot better, and like he said himself, he said he looked like a rookie after throwing 4 picks against Cleveland, just to come out and look that again. Unfortunately, I mean, it is what it is. He's again our leading rusher, which is nothing unusual, but he's just taking way too many sacks, holding on to the ball, not seeing checkdowns, not seeing a lot of reads. Talk about the receivers not being able to get open a lot of times, but even like they're sitting there getting out of their cuts, and Lamar's just not seeing them. He's not throwing it on time. You know what I'm saying? He's just holding it way too long. A lot of that, it actually goes into him scrambling and getting all these rushing yards. Like a lot of these rushing yards, he really doesn't need to get. I mean, it works out sometimes, but he's got to get these reads. And when he's like checking down, he's like alert. I saw him do that a couple times, and he goes and he thinks that whole defense is coming at him, blitzing, and he calls a screen pass to again, and it's usually third down. Again, it's third down, and he throws it to a screen pass to Marquise Brown for like either a yard or negative yards. I'm just like, I'm not understanding what's going on. Hopefully it doesn't keep rolling this way. I mean, 2 games is enough, and then we got another divisional game coming back to Cleveland again. Hopefully he can step it up and not throw any more picks and make some better plays, but we will see what happens.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Cleveland game a little bit later in the pod, as we always do. It's a game that I think is actually pretty interesting. But so I agree with you completely. I don't understand why he's missing some of these reads. Like the play where he threw the interception, for whatever reason, they hiked the ball and Lamar just starts going backwards. And I'm like, okay, so, you got to be conscious of where you are on the field. And I've noticed this a lot this year. It's like he's running backwards to try and get more time out of the pocket. because I
Right.
think, the offensive line is obviously not what it has been historically. We've never really replaced some of these guys that we've lost. Like Kevin Zeitler's been okay, but Lamar's coverage, in the pocket, it collapses so quickly, it seems like. But he holds on to the ball way too long. I mean, in this play, it's like he has Hollywood Brown streaking across the field and he's wide open. And Lamar's backpedaling and he wants to find the end zone. And it's
Right.
like, dude, you're trying way too much. You're trying way too hard. Sometimes just taking a check down can be a good thing. I mean, in that first drive, we saw, Lamar threw a pass to Latavius Murray. Latavius Murray ended up getting like 15 or 20 yards on the reception to get a
Yep.
first down. And it's like, dude, sometimes that's okay. Like, I don't understand when pundits say like, oh, the Ravens need like big plays in order for them to be successful. And it's like, we haven't had big plays all season. Our run
No, we
game
just
is
get
shot. Lamar
Mhm.
is throwing a lot of picks, trying to make things happen. I don't know, man. I mean, so that's a play that really stuck out to me. And then did you like the 2-point conversion call? So this was like a hot
personally.
topic on ESPN the next day, and we were chit-chatting about it. And at first I didn't like it. And
No,
now
I
I've
still
sort
don't
of
like
come
it.
around on it. Are you still out on that call? Like, what do you think they should have done?
Like I say this as a person just like you that sits and watches all the games on TV. So I can only say so much. But I personally would have liked us to kick the extra point, tie it, and then go into overtime. We are a team that's going into the game that was 8-3 that doesn't belong being 8-3, and that is because we have had luck in our favor, whether it be that missed freaking delay a game, we get the 66-yarder, whether it be coming down and driving and then getting into overtime, winning the coin toss, getting the ball, scoring touchdowns in the first drive. And I just think that we've been lucky all year. Why not take that luck one more time? You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, kick the extra point. It's a 50-50 chance at the coin toss. I know that Coach Harbaugh said after Humphreys go down, which we later find out that we lost him for the rest of the season, torn pec, that we had no more corners and he rather have just won the game right then and there. I take the 50-50 chance on the coin toss and hope that our offense gets the ball, and we have that momentum on our side as we just went down and scored the could have been game tying touchdown, and see if we could have just done it again. Lamar's done it before, so why can't he? I don't understand why he didn't have faith for him to do it again. Maybe it's just because of the gameplay that he's had for the last 2 games. I'm not really sure. I think I did. I looked up the statistics, and I think it was like a 48% chance for him to convert that play. So it's really not that big of a difference, but we didn't get it. So it is what it is. Now we're 8-4.
Yeah, and the 2-point conversion call was interesting. So TJ Watt, obviously, like it looks like he's just completely unblocked. He's like a defensive play record. He single-handedly won that game for the Steelers just based off of that play. And it's
Him and
like,
Worley,
why in the
they
world
both
do we
had.
not account for that guy?
I had no idea. Honestly, I don't. I don't even know why we didn't. I mean, if he, like you said, he's been doing it the whole game. Him, Worley was getting at him. I think they had like 6 sacks on him on total.
That's
Yeah,
because
I would have
Lamar's
liked
not
to.
letting go of the ball. Lamar's holding on to
Oh
the
yeah,
ball too long.
yeah. I
You
mean, there's
alluded to
yeah,
it. So
there's
I mean, it's just Lamar. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. A lot of these errors are stuff that you would expect from a quarterback like Mac Jones, right? Like a rookie in the league. I wonder too, like in the decision for it to go for 2. Initially, John Harbaugh was getting a lot of heat, right? Like when I saw it, and I my gut reaction was, I don't understand why they don't just kick the extra point. We find out later that Marlon Humphrey has a torn pec, like you were saying, and it's just like, okay, well, you're leaving it up to a coin flip. If the Steelers get the ball, you know that they're going to score because who is going to be back in the secondary to cover anybody? If Baltimore gets the ball, there's no guarantee that Lamar is going to push the ball down the field. I mean, it's just like we saw it was all over the place today. They had a 99-yard drive after one of the most amazing punts I've ever seen. Like the Pittsburgh punter that punted and the ball just like hooked and just goes completely out of bounds. I'm like, where the hell do they teach that at? That was unbelievable. We go down, we score a touchdown, and then there are other drives that just completely flamed out when we needed points. And I don't know if the offense is consistent enough for me to sit there and be like, yeah, I see them in the playoffs. They don't look like a playoff team.
I don't like how they go down on a 2-minute drive and score a touchdown, but then can't do it the whole entire game. You know what I'm saying? Like, why can you do it when there's all this pressure on you and you're in a hurry up? If that's the case, then why the hell do we not just do the hurry up the entire fucking game and just run it that way? Keep the defense on their toes, stop them from subbing in and out, and just work it that way, because apparently that is the only way we can score. You know what I mean?
Which is crazy to think about, because I've seen a couple 2-minute drills, and we talked about this actually the last pod. You brought this up, and I'm like, yeah, when the Ravens go hurry up, I would be interested to see the numbers on how many points are converted from a hurry up offense from them, because I agree. I think they look great in hurry up. And you're like, is it because the defense doesn't have time to read what they're doing? Is it like a timing thing? I just don't understand it. Like, it seems like Lamar gets more accurate. It's so bizarre. You think that it would be the other way around. And it just isn't for this team. And I don't really understand that.
And there's teams that do it. There's teams that do hurry up throughout the whole game.
Look at the Patriots. The Patriots made a fucking living off of doing, hurry up offense. Yeah. Bill Belichick just drilled into those guys like, hey, this is what we're doing. You're going to know the plays ahead of time when we practice them in practice, and you're just going to go out and execute the plays regardless of what happens. That kind of preparation, and the Ravens are good at it. It's so bizarre. Like, I would love to see the numbers on that too. Let's talk about the Marlon Humphrey injury. So he's got a torn pec. He's out for the season. Well, I guess my question is, like, what the fuck are we going to do? Like, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know where. Do you see any alignments potentially for like how this secondary is going to look? Because Marlon Humphrey was like my one standby back there, where it's like, okay, at least this guy's here. Right. Now he's gone. So what do you think the Ravens are going to do?
I'm not exactly sure. I mean, obviously, I think Chris Westry is going to end up taking his spot. Then we got Young still, and then we got Averett. Smith just came back. Not that he's that fast or anything, but he is a veteran. I mean, that's pretty much what we have right now. I don't know. I didn't see us pick up anybody. That's really all I see us doing, is just hoping that Westry can go in and fill that spot. I mean, it's a big spot to fill, but we've had Avery doing his thing, or trying to do his thing, ever since Marcus went down. So hopefully Westry can do the same thing on the other side.
So I just pulled up the depth chart for the Ravens. Here's who they have listed for defense. Anthony Averett is listed as questionable at left corner. Jimmy Smith would be the backup. And then the third and fourth strings are Amon Marshall and Marcus Peters. Both of those guys are out for the season, right? Strong safety, Chuck Clark and Geno Stone. That seems like the lineup. They're going to roll with that either way. And, I don't know, like, neither one of them I really have a whole lot of faith in this year. I've like buried Chuck Clark on here on this pod alone.
Our safeties in general.
Brandon Stevens is questionable. Anthony Levine is questionable. Third string is our Darius Washington, who's on IR. Fourth string is Deshaun Elliott, who's out for the season. Okay, so that's at free safety. Our starter is questionable. At right corner, they've got Tavon Young as the starter. Chris Westry is your backup. And then Kavon Seymour is questionable. And then Marlon Humphrey on the fourth, who's out for the year. We're playing the LA Rams and the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, man.
I don't
heavy hitters.
What we're going to do.
Yeah, they're heavy hitters. They got quarterbacks to throw the ball. I mean, we were already the worst in the league when it comes to a passing defense. It's got me worried. But hey, we've made it this far with all the injuries. Let's see what we can do for the rest of the season. Hopefully everybody can just step up and play their game. It's the next man up scenario. That's how it is any time on any sport. They're all professionals, so we just got to hope that they can go in there and make a name for themselves, I guess.
And we're getting help from the division, right? Because Cincinnati, they got beat by the Chargers. I watched that game. The Chargers got out to this huge lead, and I remember texting Chad, and I was like, "Are the Chargers peaking too early? Like, are they scoring too many points?" I'm like, "It's the first quarter, and they've scored like 24 points or something like that." And Chad was like, "Nah, no way, man. They're not going to." And then they started coming back. And I was like, "Chad, the Bengals are coming, dude. Like, and then the Chargers were able to recover a fumble and close them out. So they lose. The Bengals lose, and they lose a pretty important game, because the Chargers are going to be in the hunt for a playoff spot. The Chargers now own that tiebreaker over the Bengals. So if things start going south for Cincinnati, they're going to want as many tiebreakers as possible. and they just lost a big one. And that's putting a lot of pressure on them, I think, to win the division now. Because if Baltimore takes the division, let's say they do, or let's say somebody else, I can't imagine who's going to rise up in this division to take it. But let's say Baltimore gets their shit together and they win 10 games and win the division, right? Cincinnati now needs that tiebreaker in order to feel a little bit secure in the playoff standings. So we're getting help. A benefit of doing this podcast a little later in the week is that we just saw the Vikings put a pretty significant beat down on Pittsburgh. So they just lost.
Well, they did the same thing to Chargers Bengals. Like, you didn't know what was going to happen. The Vikings came out hot and then started slipping. And I thought that freaking Steelers were going to come back and win that game. I was kind of nervous.
Hey, by the way, Kirk Cousins, he stinks, dude. I know they won the game, but like, listen, man, he lined up behind his right guard.
Yeah, that did
he
happen.
lost to the Lions. Do you need anything else? Like, can the defense rest or whatever on Kirk Cousins? Like,
I put that Detroit game on their defense. Their defense slacked that last drive.
There's talk about needing like one last play too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like we talk about the Ravens missing the 2-point conversion. How about Jared Goff like getting the touchdown to end the game? I mean, that's huge for them.
And then they celebrate like they've never won a game before in their lives, which is pretty sad. But at least they don't go undefeated. But I mean,
if your team, like, let's say the Ravens are 0-10-1 at this point of the season, you wouldn't be stoked for a win, the first win of the season.
I guess, yeah. It was cool. Like it was cool the way they won, but it was just like they literally acted like they'd never won a game before.
Right. Yeah. So, anyway, we're not an other team podcast, but it is interesting to talk about the NFL this time of year because it's like who's going to make it, what storylines are going to get broken.
I tell you what, after what you just said, though, we're talking about like the whole thing with our division. I feel like that's what makes me the most mad is the fact that that Bengals game was a 1:00 game. We knew that they lost. We knew that if we won that game, we took two games ahead in our division. But now we're stuck in the exact same position that we were last week before we started the week off. We're still only one game ahead. I mean, if we would have won that game, I mean, obviously it was a good play call. We could have hit him. It was a wide open play. Lamar has somebody in his face. He misses the pass. It is what it is. But I just feel like if we would have fucking went in overtime and just let overtime play, man, I feel like there wasn't much time for them to think about it because we didn't have any timeouts and shit like that. We could have been up two games against the Bengals, who have already beaten us once this year. So now we're 1-2 in a division.
Well, and in an AFC too, where I think 9-8 is not going to get you into the playoffs, but there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be 10-7 that are going to, like, I predict that like 5 to the 7th seed. I think all those teams are going to be 10-7. And the only thing that's going to be able to sort them out are the tiebreakers, right? Like, it's just the AFC is just kind of, actually the NFL as a whole this year has kind of been close competitively in a lot of ways. You know, in the NFC, it's loaded. You got the Cardinals, you have the Packers. They're all they've got the same record. It's been kind of a weird season this year. All the teams, it feels like there's no one that you can look at, especially on the AFC side, and be like, hey, I think this team is going to make the Super Bowl this year. Like, I think every team can be beat.
Yeah, I just hope we're not one of those 10-7 teams you're talking about.
Well, okay. Do you want to talk about it now? Because they have the NFL playoff machine up on ESPN, and I love doing it every year. And I just think it's fun to like figure out where everybody's going. I did what I think the scenario is going to be to close out the season, and you're not going to like it. So I have the Ravens missing the playoffs. I have them going 9-8. I have them finishing in 9th place in the AFC. They're going to tie with the Raiders. And because the Raiders beat them in week 1, that's going to be the deciding point. So the Raiders would be 8th and the Ravens would be 9th, essentially. I've got for the 7th seed, it's going to be Buffalo at 10-7. The Chargers at the 6th seed, they're going to be 10-7. And then I've got the Colts as the 5 seed. I don't think they're going to win the division, but if you look at the breakdown this year, like, they're the only team that's in the hunt, quote unquote, that has 7 wins already. You know what I mean? It's not like it's going to, they dog walked the Texans. They beat them 31-0. The team is clicking. Jonathan Taylor's running really well. Carson Wentz isn't making as many mistakes, and the defense is solid. I got that team at the 5 seed. And then for the 4 seed, I've got Cincinnati winning the AFC North at 10-7. I've got Tennessee going 12-5. Kansas City's the 2 seed at 13-4. New England's 13-4, and they have the first round bye. Am I crazy? Or do you think there's a scenario where Baltimore somehow sneaks into the playoffs?
I think when it comes to our divisional games, we still got 3 divisional games left. I do think that, I mean, obviously it all depends on our defense, which our defense, like I said, has already sucked when it comes to passing. I think that we can at least get 2 of those. So that would put us at what, 10-4 if we don't count the loss. And then there's 3 other games that I don't think we're beating the Rams now. I don't think we're beating Green Bay. We might end up 10-7 at that point. I think we'll take one of the wild cards, but I do see the Bengals end up taking our division, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So,
it just seems.
But I don't see us dropping out of the playoffs. I do believe that you're right. I don't see Tennessee losing 2 many more games. New England has just been on a tear. Especially this last game, they just won. Did you see that game?
They threw 3 passes.
3
and they
passes.
Beat the Bills 14-10.
Yeah. It was windy as sun.
Okay, so they were saying that the wind was really bad. I'm like,
it was bad.
How? But like, I remember watching the opening kickoff. They kicked the opening ball, and they were going, with the wind, and that motherfucker ended up in like the second deck. It ended up way in the stands, and I was
was pretty bad.
Oh my God. So that gave me kind of an idea. But they were like, Mac, you're going to throw 3 passes and we're going to run. And it worked. They won 14-10. Can you believe that?
They ran all over them, dude.
It's crazy.
And they look dangerous. Their game all around is good. They have a really good kicker. They have really good running backs. They have a great defense. So they're dangerous. They're definitely taking number 1. Kansas City is on a roll. Their defense is starting to step up. They're 100% going to be the number 2, which no longer is a bye. So they're going to end up having to play in the playoffs. And I see us probably being the number 7 seed. So we're end up having to play Kansas City again, and it's probably going to be another Lamar Jackson versus
in Arrowhead on the road.
Yeah.
Which
sucks. I mean, everybody would much rather have home field, but with us, I mean, personally, with all of our injuries, I see us as the underdog in almost every game that we've gone into. Besides Detroit, I've seen us kind of as the underdogs going into it. So I mean, why not just keep the thing going? So
which is
go into it underdogs and just take over.
Yeah, and it's crazy too because like every time we do the matchup predictor stuff, Baltimore is always favored by like at least 3, and you're just like, how in the world? Like, why is the spread -3 for this team? Like, is anyone actually watching this team and critiquing them fairly? Because I feel like there's a lot of Lamar love out there, but sometimes I think, especially when you start breaking down film and you start watching some of the decisions that he makes, I mean, you can't help, like, he's regressed as a quarterback.
Yeah.
It's crazy because in the beginning of the year, we were like, wow, he's really like, he's finding his reads. Guys are getting open. Like things are happening. He's made an improvement. But over this past month, it's just been like, yo, Lamar, what is going on? It's like there's someone in his ear that's telling him, you have to be a pocket passer. You have to be.
Yeah.
And I just think that's total bullshit. The guy's not turning 25 until January. Let him do what he's been doing his entire life, running on the beach in Florida, building up his speed, let him do all of these things and let him do it on the football field because that's what's successful. There are times when Lamar Jackson rolls out, even in the Pittsburgh game, he rolled out and he got a couple first downs off a run. And I'm like, exactly. That's what we were doing in 2019. And it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, have those plays in your playbook because the passing game right now, I mean, I don't really know. I don't think our skills guys are very good. Mark Andrews has played, he's always a solid option for us, but he's the 3rd best tight end in the league. Mm-hmm. And everybody else, Rashad Bateman I think he got targeted once in the Steelers game. And he didn't
He had a drop pass. Yeah, he had a drop pass, but the fact that he went 0-0 really upsets me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like this
Really
guy.
upsets me.
I like him, and I would like us to take him to go deep on some of these routes
Yeah.
instead of having Devin Duvernay do a stupid, sweep for 10 yards that everybody anticipates now.
Right.
It's like, I don't
Yeah,
know,
we
man.
do it every game at
We do
this
it every
point.
game. It's like every game
Yeah.
I see a Devin Duvernay sweep, and it's like,
Yeah.
all right, man, like that's cool,
Yeah.
but at some
He's
point,
he's not a Debo Samuels, so
no, exactly. And we're trying to make him turn him into Deebo Samuel, and it's ridiculous. I agreed with one thing that you said. If the Ravens can win 2 of these next upcoming games, I think that they are in at the 7th spot, right? The problem is the game coming up is the Browns, who are coming off of their bye, and they were pretty quiet. I mean, I didn't hear much news coming out of Cleveland. Everyone's abandoning Baker Mayfield. And, we haven't heard anything from their bye. There hasn't been anything significant. I don't know what Baker's arm is going to look like. I imagine it's better with a week's worth of rest, and we barely beat him when he had a bum arm. Right. So that game's not a guarantee. The next game that we play after that
then Green Bay. And then
is Green Bay at home. Okay, Aaron Rodgers with a banged up secondary. All right, not seeing a win there. Then we go to Cincinnati. We have to play them again after they beat us in our own house earlier in the year pretty significantly. Then we're home against the Rams, and we're home against the Steelers, who just beat us. Right. I see us going 1-4. I think they win the Steelers game at the end of the year because I don't think it's going to mean a whole lot for either teams. I think both teams are not going to be in the Baltimore has more to gain from that game than I think the Steelers do. I think the Steelers are just ready to pack it up at this point. If they go 1-4, they're not going to make the playoffs, Brad. If they go 2-3, I think they'll make it. But the win has to come this week against the Browns, right?
I think, personally, I think we end up winning this week. I honestly do. The Browns offense relies heavily on Chubbs and Hunt. And our rush defense is number 2 in the league behind, I think, Tampa Bay. If not, we're number 1. We stopped them last time. I think they averaged 2.3 yards a carry last time. Didn't even break 50 yards. If we can do that again and we put all the weight on Baker's shoulders, I'm much rather that happen. You know what I mean? I much rather have Baker tossing the ball around. I know that our secondary is depleted, but I much rather see them try and stop a Peoples-Jones. The only real receiver there is Landry. I think we ended up winning this game again, as long as our offense can step up. We threw 4 picks last time and we still beat them. You know what I'm saying? If our offense cannot turn over the ball 4 or 5 times in a game, and our defense can kind of do the same thing. Humphreys has been getting beat all year. As good as he was last year, he's been getting beat all year. So I mean, it might not be much of a difference. We'll see what happens, but I think that we end up getting this win this week. And like you said, the last game of the season, I think we end up winning against Pittsburgh. So I think we'll be solid.
Is Marlon Humphrey one of those guys you have to have a corner opposite him like Marcus Peters, where it's because when they operate as a tandem,
right,
they take credit. It almost seems like together. They'll talk about Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters being the best cornerback duo in the league or whatever. With Marcus Peters gone, Marlon Humphrey, it's been interesting with him this year because I don't think he's played poorly. I don't think he's been great though either. He's had a good season. Now he's out for the rest of it. It leaves kind of a sour taste in your mouth. But I agree. I don't think he's played at a Pro Bowl level at all. And maybe when it comes down to it, maybe, I agree the 4 interceptions is probably not going to happen again. I don't know. I just don't know with this game. I just trust a team that's coming off of a bye and wants to make a playoff push. They probably saw Pittsburgh lose and they're thinking, okay, I mean, they'd had 2 weeks to scheme for something that they just saw. And I don't think that the Ravens are going to switch up what they do. That team
they haven't yet.
What's that?
So they haven't yet.
Right, exactly. And I don't think they're going to. I think what you get is what you get. And in that sense, they're predictable. But here's what ESPN has. So the matchup predictor, 53.5% favors Cleveland. The spread right now is -2.5 for Cleveland. So they're favored in this game. And then the over-under is set at 43. I don't know. I've noticed this as we've been doing it. The over-under for Baltimore has just been tanking. It used to be like 46, 47. Now it's 43. Yeah. I mean, they're just like, this team can't score more than 20 points, it seems like, on offense.
Yeah, we have.
What's your score prediction?
I am going to go 26-24 Raven, which has to have some weird shit happen in the game. But
I have, and you're going to hate me, dude, I have 24-17 Browns. The Ravens haven't scored 20 points since what, Minnesota?
Minnesota, yeah.
It's been 3 weeks since they've scored 20 points. If they don't get to 20 points, they're not going to win. Cleveland's fighting for a playoff spot. I think Baker is under a little more pressure than Lamar Jackson is this year. I mean, there are Cleveland Browns fans who are booing Baker Mayfield in the stadium. I think it's a week for him to be like, okay, I've had a week off to rest my arm. I'm coming back in. We just played this team. We're home. They have a 4-2 record home, and we're 3-3 on the road. If Baker Mayfield is going to silence any critics that he has, I think he has to win this game, and he's got to keep him in the hunt.
Yeah.
And I don't think that pressure's on Lamar.
For real, it's going to come down to, like, what it is every single time we end up losing is big plays. The big play ability for them. I think I see us holding Landry, since he went off for 111 yards on us last week. He had 50 yards on us on the first drive on 2 different plays. But I feel like we hold him off. But I feel like Peoples-Jones is just going to have like a big play on us, like a 70-yard touchdown. And I mean, like that. I mean, that's what happens to us every single week. Somebody hits a big play on us, and we end up losing. I feel like as long as we can stop that big play, and we can stop either Higgins or Peoples-Jones from hitting us one of those deep routes, I think we'll be all right.
It's the 2-point conversion. I talked a couple weeks ago about the Tyler Huntley to Sammy Watkins pass, and how I thought that maybe that was going to be a turning point in our season. Right. I think this is the actual one. I think the failing the 2-point conversion, I think it's a sign that, like, maybe our luck is running a little thin. And our roster is certainly running thin. Here's where we're favored in this game. It's kind of crazy. So we average 23.5 points per game, although we haven't recently. So I don't know if I would put much stock into that. Cleveland only averages 21.2. Points allowed per game, we average less. We allow 21.7. They allow 22.3. We have more yards passing the ball, and we have the exact same amount of average rush yards at 147.1. All signs would indicate that the Ravens would have a shot in this game. So I'm holding out hope. You know, we were talking about, like, being an optimistic podcast when it came to this team, and I think there's so many negative narratives going on revolving a season where I think the worst the Ravens finish is, 9-8. It's not a catastrophic season in terms of injury, but something that we haven't been talking about too, Lamar Jackson, this is a contract year for him. And it makes me wonder if there was some conspiracy things going on with going forward on 2. Is it possible that John Harbaugh was trying to protect Lamar by not going into overtime? We talked earlier about the pod about, like, I don't know whether he would have been able to go down and score a touchdown even if they won the coin toss. But what if they go into overtime and then Lamar, let's say the ball's at the 50-yard line and he throws a pick, you know what I mean? And then in overtime, the Steelers come back and win the game. And that's the end result. Instead of seeing a failed 2-point conversion on ESPN and everybody being fine with it, John Harbaugh in some ways is trying to protect Lamar Jackson from criticism. It's like, look, I'll take the heat for the 2-point conversion call. If you don't make it, make it. Just back me up on it. We've been doing it all season. We might as well do it again. And not as much criticism gets, because I think if we go into overtime, there's no guarantee that Lamar Jackson doesn't throw an interception, right? And then you're going into a contract year. It doesn't look good.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like he still got criticized for it. The pass he made was a horrible pass. The man was wide open. He led him with the freaking sidearm bullet pass. He didn't give any kind of touch on the pass. I mean, it was still a bad pass. So to me, it was still on. Sadly, I mean, he's the quarterback. It was on Lamar. I mean, it was a good play. The play call was there. To me, it was a bad call in first. I don't like that we went for 2. But the call that they did make, the play that they did do, got our man wide open. Watching his face, I don't know how I would throw a ball with Watt in my face. Was it TJ Watt?
I actually thought
But
it was an okay throw given the circumstance.
he said, I mean, but that's it.
Hit him in the hand anyway.
It hit him but it hit him in the hand. But then you're expecting, that's the thing, you're expecting Andrews to make these spectacular catches that he's been making all year. He's basically kind of making Lamar Jackson look good at times because he's making these spectacular catches. Lamar would have gotten all the praise for that 2-point conversion, but if that 2-point conversion would have been made, it should have been handed to Andrews because it would have been a spectacular catch. He basically had to hit the ball and bat it to himself and try and catch it. It wasn't a good pass at all. He led him way too far upfield. Yeah. Well, just towards the sideline, I should say. It should have been, it was wide open. Nobody was even on that side. It should have just been like a little dump over. Let the man run to the ball and catch it instead of trying to get it to him right there on the side. There's literally nobody around him. He's wide open.
I think everybody, when it comes to Lamar Jackson, it's like they always remember 2019 when he was kind of fresh and new and no one had really interacted with him before or played against him before. Now it's almost like he's spending too much time trying to do the extraordinary when the ordinary is just as good. Yeah. You know, how Tom Brady made a living off of checking the ball down to a running back. He had no problem doing it, you know, and
slants.
The sacks, I'm blaming Lamar. I'm at the point now where it's like, yo, if you're taking 5 or 6 sacks a game, you're holding on to the ball too long. You have to be, because, and we've been talking about it all year. The internal clock is just like when you see a quarterback sitting back there and you think about when that ball should be thrown, there are times where I'm just like, Lamar, dude, if it's not there, just let it go or run. Man. Take off and run. Like you have the ability to do it. I have absolutely no problem with it. It's why our offense is designed the way it's designed anyway. It just doesn't make much sense. I don't know whether it's a confidence thing now. I don't know whether it's someone in his ear telling him this is what you need to do, but it's like, you're not even 25 years old.
Yeah.
You know, like pump the brakes, dude. If you need to run to get a first down, I don't have a problem with you doing that. I never do.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's pretty much it for the Browns. I mean, we'll see how it goes, man. I'm optimistic. I would like to see the Ravens win. They need to win this game. But you know how it is, like the AFC North. Actually, let's talk about that real quick, because they're saying that this is Ben Roethlisberger's last year. He's been telling people in the facility, which means we'll have 100% quarterback turnover, right? We'll have new quarterbacks everywhere who have played in the league less than 5 years. I think the AFC North, these first couple of years, when Pittsburgh gets whatever quarterback they're going to get out of college, I think it's just going to be like a dog fight. I think all the teams are going to lose a lot of games. If you get a winner from the AFC North, they're probably going to have 4 or 5 losses on their record, and 2 or 3 of them are going to be divisional games. Because these young guys are just going to be like slanging and banging all over the place. And I'm really excited to see it. Ben Roethlisberger, it's time for him to go. His shoulder is completely shot, but he beat us. He has enough juice to beat us on a Sunday. So, you know, what does that say about the Ravens, I guess? But when they get a new quarterback, maybe Kenny Pickett from Pitt, that guy would be a perfect fit for Pittsburgh.
I haven't really followed any of the college games. I heard there wasn't really many quarterbacks that are even coming out this next year.
Not in this class, no. But I do think, you know, would it hurt to like pick one up in the first? I don't know what they really need in the first round. Pittsburgh, I guess they need
Tom Brady 7th round.
What's that?
Tom Brady 7th round.
True. Yeah. Okay. But I mean, I'm watching Man in the Arena, watching the way that he goes about shit. I'm just like, wow, you know, if they had just like the 7th round is like, you're the bottom of the barrel. You know what I mean? Tom Brady is fucking incredible. And the way that he thinks, you would think teams would have been like, okay, this guy's got the brains. You know what I mean? Like, let's get him in the 5th or the 4th and consider it a steal, right? Like, but you can't use him as every example. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many. It's just like, his story is unbelievable. And if you haven't seen Man in the Arena yet, you should check it out. It's fucking wild, dude. He goes through all of his Super Bowls, win and losses.
What a beast.
I know. Yeah, for real. I mean, it's unbelievable. Okay. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? I mean, I think we pretty much covered everything.
No. I just hope it doesn't come down to another 2-point conversion.
I know.
I really hope we win this week, dude. I don't know.
If we do, if we do win this week, I'm going to have a different outlook on our playoff chances because, like I said, I think if they go 2-3, I think they're going to get in as a 7th seed and they're going to have to duke it out with Kansas City. I just don't have it right now. And then there's so many other teams that are just jam-packed here in the AFC. Like it's going to be a nail-biting finish. I'll just say that. All right, man. I think we're good to go. Like, thank you so much for listening to our podcast. I know we're down a co-host today, but he's adding a new member to his family. And that's good. That's always a good reason to miss a podcast, I think.
Oh yeah.
Brad, it was good talking to you. And we'll have the full crew after the Browns game on Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah. Call.
All right, brother, man. Everybody and Flock Squawk, thank you so much for listening. Subscribe if you're new. Give us a like, leave a comment. Talk to us about what you guys want to hear on the podcast. And we'll get back to you and we'll add some more content. It'll be fun. Brad, I'll see you later. Have a great rest of your weekend. And Flock Squawk Nation, I'll see y'all later too. Caw-caw.
Peace, love.
And the feeling coming from my boy.